Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Dadas Show, coming to you from Gem Suites in Riverside here in Nairobi. I'm your host, Ashiko Mbune. Now, as our name suggests, the Dadas Show aspires to promote the spirit of sisterhood and solidarity. And we do this by creating an open and safe platform for women to discuss issues pertaining to their health and lifestyle, their works, their family, and anything that affects them in one way or another. We also take a moment to celebrate and acknowledge women who are doing formidable things, not only for themselves, but for their communities at large. As we embrace another school year, we are faced with a looming crisis. And the crisis is the rise of the number of mental health related deaths, especially amongst the teaching fraternity. Now, according to the Kenya Women Association of Teachers, the numbers have risen over the past 3 years, where we have 100 deaths reported on the past 3 years, which begs the question, what is really going on? Especially for people who are supposed to be building lives and aspiring the young generation. What is happening to our teachers? What is making them become so disillusioned that they want to take their own lives? On this episode of Dadas Show, I am joined by members of the teaching fraternity who will give us an in-depth look into what it's like to be a teacher in Kenya and what needs to be done so that we can be able to intervene and save lives so that our children can actually be able to see a bright future thanks to our teachers, our very beloved teachers. So remember, as usual, we welcome you to join us across all social media platforms at Dadas Show KBC. You can also join us on our Facebook page at Dadas KBC. You can reach me directly at Ashiko the host across all social media platforms. So before we have our discussion of the day, let's take a look at the following feature.
My name is Agnes Menya. I am a teacher at the Meriliki Girls High School.
My name is Ndombi Luande, a teacher at the Meriliki Girls High School.
Michael Mwangi. I teach mathematics and geography here at Meriliki Girls.
Teachers give so much to students, fellow teachers, parents, and their family throughout the day. Additionally, they get caught up with the day-to-day school activities, planning and preparing, and end up forgetting to focus on their mental well-being. This selfless attribute is among the many reasons pushing teachers to have a mental breakdown.
Lack of professional growth. With this, it emanates from various issues. One, it can be, we have teachers who have furthered their studies, but the employer does not recognize the idea that a teacher can go ahead and do his or her own master's degree or a PhD. So there's that lack of promotion in terms of trying to grow yourself career-wise in terms of education. Yeah.
I think mental health issues among us teachers include one, pressure to perform. As a teacher, your main challenge is to see a student who came in raw leave as a complete product, a finished product. So when that goal is not achieved, I think it weighs down on the mental health of the teacher. Yeah, and that is what that is what society judges the strength of a teacher.
It gets more challenging among female teachers.
The formation of a man is definitely very different from the formation of a woman. Women are more emotional. So anything that would weigh down on a lady, it trickles down not just to her job, but to everything concerning her life, yeah? At home, her relation or her social relation with other people, and so on. And managing this sometimes is a bit difficult because, of course, of the nature of women. We are very emotional beings, and you'd find that sometimes people have different ways of coping with stresses in life, yeah? There are those who would easily withdraw from society. There are those who just shut themselves in. There are those who would find it difficult to open up to, other people, to seek help in any form.
Some of the signs of a stressed teacher include
Issues to do with hygiene. So if you have a teacher, unapata all of a sudden anakuja shule, shati alivaa jana majuzi amevaa tena, ama trouser alivaa jana na juzi amevaa tena, ama kiatu haina rangi, or the hair is just the way it wants, unadhani ameguza live wire usiku. So these are signs that show you kama siwezi take care of my own self, it means that mimi basi I feel in myself I'm worthless. Something else that can tell us mwalimu ana suffer mentally is drug and substance abuse. So you get that someone who was previously not using or was not addicted to drugs, anaingililia alcohol, hard drugs and other things, and now it becomes worse wakati, you know, with alcohol lazima uko na pesa ya kununua alcohol. So another sign is cognitive science, issues to do with the brain itself. So napata huyu mwalimu anasahau vitu, ana hallucinate. Yeah, if alikuwa ameandika kitu mahali anasahau, na nilikuwa nimekaa hapi na maybe nikitumia happen over a span of 5 minutes. Even thoughts of suicide, hata mkiongea tu, you know, mnaongea na mtu tu random kama mimi naweza jiua haki. Hizi shida ziko siku hizi, naona hata naweza jiua tu siku moja.
Stress can be passed down to students. A happy teacher gives positive learning environment and vice versa.
A teacher who is stressed, even when it comes to class delivery, inamu affect pia. Because you can imagine kama sijijali mimi mwenyewe, you know, I'm just clothing myself the way I want to, yani sijali hata hygiene yangu. It also means even if I come to class, I'll teach for the sake of teaching. Naingia tu class, naambiwa say, tulikuwa pi last, andika notes mpaka mahali fulani na natoka. Or I don't have the energy or the zeal, ama ile umfutu yenye mwalimu anakuanga nayo, because if someone is motivated you can really tell. So if again someone is downcast, pia delivery yake hata kwa wanafunzi inakuwa very shallow, and I think in the long run in affect hata grades za wanafunzi.
Mental health awareness for teachers should be prioritized in all learning institutions.
There is power in just speaking out. So I think the first awareness begins with self. If you're going through issues mentally, who do you speak to? Is it family? And that's why in terms of creating awareness, even as schools, we have to create structures that accommodate watu wako na issues to do with their mental well-being. Be it an office, and I'm happy because even in our school we have a guidance and counseling department. I know other schools also have such kind of things. And do we have structures in the government that also support teachers' well-being? Is mental health, do mental health issues, are they taken seriously? Because we are kitu tunafaa tuongelele. As a man, kwanza as a teacher, female teacher, mtu nasikia ni kama ni issues to do with mental health. People think it's a joke, yeah? Tumeza, you know, it's maybe more feminine, ama ya younger generation, because, you know, hao ndio wana face a lot. But even men face things, teachers face things, and they need help.
The government has been urged to come up with strategies that promote mental wellness among teachers.
To be honest, the government has a lot to do when it comes to supporting teachers and their mental well-being through institutions that support teacher issues. Because I'm thinking, you know, mtu wako mashinani probably hakuna proper channels which have been structured by the government to just air out issues ambazo ni za mental health. I can say in Nairobi at least hatuko pabaya sana, but when it comes to those who are at mashinani, the government has a lot to do ya ku set up structures, and also considering mental illness as an illness like any other. It's as bad as cancer. Also means even maybe insurance za walimu and other forums that support their health should cover even mental health, such that kwa cover ya mwalimu niko na dental, niko na nini, na bado kuna mental wellness, so that it's also felt as an issue just like any other issue they face.
For Dadas Show, my name is Miriam Odanga.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us today, our conversation is around the mental health concerns about our teachers. Like I reported, there's a report by the Kenya Women Teachers Association that over 100 teachers lost their lives to mental health related illnesses in the past 3 years. These figures are alarming, actually, to say the least. So as we begin this new school year, and we've all come from our holidays, we need to find out and touch base with our teachers to find out if everything and everybody is okay. So remember my wonderful panel right next to me. I have Madam Judith Ogweno. Karibu sana. We've had her on the show before. She is someone who has been in this particular field for over 3 decades. So I believe we're in very, very, very reliable hands to find out what's happening. Walimu ni nini? What's going on after a very tough half year last year, you know, we want our teachers to hang around so that they can be able to aspire the next generation. And right next to her, we have Madam Caroline Kahingo, who is also a teacher, a deputy principal at that. Actually, she'll tell us all her credentials, and we will interact a little bit more as we carry on with today's episode. And finally, we have Madam Emily Ndeke. So karibu sana, Emily. We are really, really looking forward to also interacting with you so that you can give us your in-depth knowledge, especially in the field of guidance and counseling, like what is going on, because we have all focused so much on our students, on the parents, on everybody, aside from the very, very key people in this whole equation. I'd also want to appreciate my wonderful audience who take time to sit with us every single recording day, and we discuss contentious issues affecting the women of Kenya. And at this point, we are actually discussing everybody, both men and women. As long as you're a teacher, this is definitely the episode for you. And I hope you at home are actually taking notes so that we can be able to find the root cause and what can be done to mediate this particular crisis that is looming over us. So let's start off with you. You know, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone, and I'm glad to be here once again. So I am Dr. Judith Ogweno, a teacher who has taught for the last 31 years, like you said, 3 decades. Yeah. I'm a mother of Kenyans and teenagers at that. Yes. Okay, one is not a teenager. Yes. And I'm also a lover of teachers, especially when it comes to issues that concern teachers, like professional development. Among them being a member of the English Teachers Association, English Teachers Association. And at the same time, I'm also the school chaplain at State House Girls. So I'm pleased to be here to talk about issues that concern us as teachers. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Karibu sana, Dr. Okweno, and it's so happy to see you again. And I think you'll tell us the transition that you have watched over the years. You know, was something like mental health something that was actually prevalent then, or this is something that is recent, of course, with the different changes in life, but we will get back to that in a little while. What about you, Caroline? No, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Thank you, Ashiko, for having me. My name is Caroline Kahingo, retired high school teacher. I taught high school for 26 years, 10 of which I was a deputy principal. Currently, I also do corporate training, particularly for teachers. So I'm still concerned with teaching, and I also lecture. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Karibu sana, Caroline, for that. And then finally,
my name is Emily Ndeke. I'm a teacher of English and literature, though retiring this year, and getting full-time into counseling. And that makes me call myself right now a counseling psychologist with equipped mental wellness. Yes. And teacher mental health is at the core of my heart. Thank you.
What are some of the factors that you think have contributed to the rise in the number of, unfortunately, suicide cases amongst teachers? Yes.
All right. There's a lot of changes that are taking place in the marketplace. We call it the marketplace. Just like the whole world is full of pressure, teachers are part of that population. Anything that is happening to the parents, teachers are involved in it. The economic factors, life is becoming difficult, little money, teachers are also found in it. When we have, sorry to say, the taxes are affecting us directly, you know, and there's not much that teachers can say they have. So there's so much that is going on, some changes. You know, there's a time there were political issues that were happening. Yes. Teachers were part of it. And then the demand for results in schools. There is this demand that, yes, you may be teaching the 844 system, you've done it for a long time. But when we are asking for results at all costs, then the teacher is the person who is between the student and the people we are reporting to. So that puts a lot of pressure on the teacher. And that is growing because performance has to be measured as time is going by. And so the teacher is becoming stressed from all levels. And of course, part of it is also just the teacher being the teacher, living in the world we are living in.
And a human being
factors,
at that.
yes.
You know. What about you, Caroline? Is there any additional factor that you think could be contributing to this particular rise in the suicide cases amongst teachers?
Yeah, I would want to add that we find people joining the profession, and it wasn't a calling. So the expectations, unmet expectations, maybe it is not part of your personality, the pressure that comes with handling students, and eventually you become the wounded caregiver. You're just feeding everybody and nobody is taking care of you. Then there's the issue of the employer. Many teachers are stagnating in their job positions for a very long period of time. Sometimes even a colleague will come, I don't know what happens. Within a short time, they get a promotion and you have been there. You may even find that as a teacher, a student whom you taught at Form 4 goes to college, comes and gets a promotion.
And finds you there.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be demoralizing for anybody. Oh, wow. What about you, Emily? What are some of the factors that you feel, especially in the areas of clinical psychology, what you're doing? What have you felt has been some of the things that have stood out as a factor to, you know, the rising in the unfortunate cases?
Thank you so much. I would like to add to what Caroline has said. Expectations. If you look at most employers, they're just interested in your output. How many good grades can you produce? Like I look at the teacher performance and appraisal development, it's just about the professional part of the teacher. But rarely do we pay attention on the person of the teacher, because you are you before you are that person.
Yes.
So those expectations, and especially, let me speak from the demands from private schools, because I've been there. The expectations are too much. And here is a teacher who is given a very high, there are so many demands on the teacher. And the teacher has to struggle to balance. I have to perform because I'm not assured of this job. So if I'm not performing, then I'll lose it out. And I'm not so sure if I'm going to be given this contract at the beginning of the year. I have children. So those frustrations that come from expectations actually are a major contributing factor to some of the suicide cases around the country.
Let's look at a case in point. For instance, you've talked about this young teacher, and they're actually struggling. What are some of the telltale signs? You know, because we sit down and sometimes you hear, and we've experienced that a lot. Someone, you know, we hear someone unfortunately lost their lives, you know, they committed suicide, and we're always asking the question, I mean, hatukuona, what happened? There were no signs. One day the guy was happy, the next day the guy has jumped off the building. You know, what are some of the telltale signs as we are rocking into a new school year?
The major one will be a teacher who was committed to going to class. All of a sudden starts missing lessons. And most times, because the others are equally stressed, the complaint will be, so-and-so is not attending lessons anymore. We don't know, but really, somebody needs to be on the ground to check.
Yes.
So that missing of lessons, then there's the issue of a teacher who was generally a calm person, just starts becoming quarrelsome to students, to fellow teachers. Somebody picks something from the table, and the way they would respond, like, so-and-so, you took my book, will be like, why is everybody picking my books? So you're wondering, why is everybody coming in there? So those are signs that something is happening, it's being heightened.
Thank you so much. I believe even from there, you're just equipping us with information and knowledge, because most of us as parents, we do interact with these teachers. When you go for the PTAs, and I have a teacher who is my favorite teacher in the school, maybe where my son attends, and all of a sudden he's not talking, or he's very aggressive. You know, what are some of the other things? Because I know that there's something like, there's also the fatigue, there's also some of this. What are other telltale signs? Because you've all interacted with let's say, some form of depression around, for the 30 years that you've been there, you've witnessed a thing or two happening. What did you notice, Carol?
It could also include not meeting deadlines. You see, like the school system operates on deadlines. Once the term starts, you should have prepared the schemes of work. And then as you teach every week, you should prepare records of work. You should set exams, mark them, fill the necessary documents. So you just find, like there's some teachers, you find that when they're supposed to have fed the marks in the system, they just put off the phone. And they go off, and the school can't close. You start looking for them. So if you're not aware that the teacher may be having a problem, you may take it that they're just being defiant.
They're just being defiant.
Yeah.
Oh dear. And how many times has the misdiagnosis happened? Very many times where you're looking at somebody, even in the workplace, where we have called people irresponsible, where we've called people undermotivated, and yet there's still so much happening there. So now let's go to, we've already seen the signs, unless there was another sign that you would wanted to add. Yeah, let's start with
Negligence of duty. Negligence of duty, which is one of the areas so many teachers lose their jobs. Maybe these teachers started off very well. They used to do their work well, they meet deadlines and everything, but all of a sudden, they neglect their duties. They stay away from school, and they are not even so sorry that they missed school. They don't even explain. And if you ask, they
most probably would snap at you.
They snap. Something else I've also come to realize, and especially teachers in top positions who hold their own offices, isolation. They're always in their office. Rarely do they come out, even just to mix. Maybe it could be a principal or deputy principal or a senior teacher, teachers who sit by themselves in their offices. Unless they come out and maybe interact with the others, you may feel, that one just stays by himself, he's feeling himself, or herself. Sana. And anyway, he's a senior. I realized that depression in school principals is very high because these people are really under pressure to perform. And sometimes money that is meant for school delays to come. And here parents they are expected to perform. Why don't we have this? Why don't we have that? Or in cases of private schools, there's so much demand from the school owner, and the parents are also demanding. So the principal is put in the middle.
Right in the middle.
In the middle.
Yeah, because they have to deal with the board, and then they also have to deal with the parents, and they also have to deal with the teachers.
Yes, and being the principal, teachers are there waiting for instructions from him. Who listens to this principal? Who listens to them? So the demands are so high. So they isolate. Some even emotional eat. They're always eating. You see, this person likes eating, but that eating is because of something informing the stress. So they find solace in eating.
Yes, Madam Judith, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I'm saying you will notice increase in substance abuse among the teachers, those who they maybe drink a lot or smoke a lot, and then also increase in psychosomatic diseases. The teacher will go for checkup and there's nothing they can find, or literally high blood pressure and the others that go with it because the pressure is too much, especially for administrators.
Especially for administrators. So now we've already been able to tell, we can be able to tell, okay, Sawa Mwalimu ABCD might be going with some, might be going through something, and we would want to intervene. So how do we go about offering support? And when we talk about support, we want to start completely from the grassroots, even the people you're sitting with in the staff room. Because we always have a tendency of saying, no, let's look for this support group, let's look. When I'm right there with you, Mwalimu, what kind of support can I offer you as your colleague? Yeah. Let's start off with you, and then let's start off with you, Carol, and then we can be able to move on.
Thank you for that question. I believe we should start with at the foundation that even in teacher training programs, mental health should be included. Exactly. So that all teachers are aware that if my colleague is going through this, then there is a problem. Then in the staff room, the colleagues can come in to offer support. Like if you notice that there are some changes with your colleague, taking a step to find out what is going on, what is happening, and maybe just being willing to listen to them, I think would give them an opportunity to talk. Because most of the time, when we are going through stuff, we just want someone to listen.
Absolutely.
Just to give a hearing ear and not judge. Then we go to the administrators. Unfortunately, some administrators are part of the depression and stress.
True.
So I would ask for in-training for most administrators. They stop using the old-fashioned mode of management, and they go towards transformational leadership.
Yes.
A change in paradigm that you don't use the same tactics for managing the teachers. Then if we could also have maybe clubs in the school whereby we even bring the students on board. so that if a teacher comes to class and is bleeding all over, the students can also realize mwalimu hakuangi hivi. There
Kuna
must be
kitu.
something.
There has to be something going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe they can reach out to the teacher in charge of counseling or the administration so that this can be noticed and the teacher is given help.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's move a notch higher and look at the parents, because we're looking at, if we're looking at the school ecosystem, we are talking the students, we're talking parents, we're talking administration. Let's look at, what kind of support can the parents offer? Let's look at things like the caucuses and the PTAs. How can they step in?
Yeah, we have the parent associations, we have chairpersons, and then each form has a representative. So sometimes, unfortunately, parents are also part of those who bring stress.
Yes.
Because of the school WhatsApp pages, they
Yes.
really spill a lot of hatred.
Oh, yeah.
So I would ask that the representatives should at least be the mediators
the
between
buffer.
the parents and the teachers.
Yes.
So that as a PA representative, if I notice that maybe students have been complaining about this subject, I can pick it up in a responsible manner instead of throwing it on the WhatsApp wall and saying that this teacher doesn't do this and this. That would really help. And then also, as a parent, maybe just having conversations. Like on the WhatsApp, on the Facebook group, yeah, where parents are complaining, my child was denied taking this option. Instead of going there, and I like what Sue usually does, she always asks them, have you gone to school? Have you had a conversation with the teacher?
Have you taken a more direct approach?
Yes.
As opposed to just spilling it out?
Yeah,
there?
because your child may come home and they're giving reasons why they're not performing, and you're just believing, and you've not gone to school to find out, is it really true that this is what's happening? So if parents came in and offered that support, that we want the best of these young people. And therefore, even the parents, when you notice that maybe students are complaining that this teacher doesn't come to class often, then you seek help from the administration, and you find out what is actually happening.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I wish that everybody could actually be able to adopt that kind of approach, to be honest. I mean, it looks very simple, of course, right now on paper. And I know there are so many nitty-gritties that need to be put across. But to be honest, if we are to get to a point to reduce the number of suicide cases, then those are definitely things that our school administrations need to be open to employing. So before we go on break, do you think there's enough public awareness? I've been in a forum where we would find the parents, for instance, looking, I'm just using an example, but it did happen, where the parents are looking at mental wellness, especially in teachers, as, like, okay, that's not a thing, And I think we go back to, the care of the carers and the care of the caregivers. Yeah. When there were doctors who, when the alarming rates of the suicide, of doctors is happening, people are like, wait a minute, you're a doctor, you're not supposed to be sad. And it's the same approach when people are having for teachers. You're a teacher. You're supposed to be able to handle all of these things. Do you feel like there's enough public awareness of the mental health issues that teachers face?
Thank you so much. I would like to add this, that the quality of education is as good as the quality of its teachers. And the quality of its teachers does not just go with the professional qualification of a teacher. It's about the person of the teacher, because if we look at ourselves, we remember so much about what the teacher did for us or to us more than we remember what we were taught.
That is true.
Many times.
Yeah.
Now, coming to whether there is enough awareness, in my opinion, there isn't. And this is why. When we attend teacher conferences, whether it is the National Heads Association meetings that are held in Mombasa and all that, I just wonder how much airspace is given to the mental health for these head teachers, because if they are informed, they will actually bring that information down to the teacher. Yes. Then secondly, our parents. I'm imagining in a school of, let's say, 1,000 students. In those 1,000 parents or more, there could be counselors. Why can't we have like parents who are counselors or mental health experts coming together to offer services like open day for mental health offered pro bono to the teachers. Just the way we have the open day for academics, you know, the way you go, you move to a Kiswahili teacher, this is what how your student is performing or how your child is performing. We could have such in schools so that people, the general public is informed how mental health is important. Because for mental health, if you are unwell mentally, your physical well-being, just like Daktari has said, will be affected.
Of course.
Yes.
They are very closely related.
Yes.
Daktari, you were adding something else in regards to the motivation.
Well, I know this is one area that when you talk about parents feel like, but I am a parent too in a school. I'm thinking of it this way. Any organization that performs, the employees have professional development or money set aside to help do team building and the rest. But apparently in the Ministry of Education, I don't think it's really coming out that way. Hence, most of the time the burden falls on the parents. But here is the thing. Schools that go ahead and do it with a clear heart, they get most of their results, because you see what? As a teacher, I'm in the same environment throughout. Even that environment itself is a stressful one. You take me out to some countryside, you don't need, if there was a way money could be got which didn't come from parents, let me tell you, it works. Probably that needs to be looked into.
Yes.
But for me, I think motivation will be a one way. Different schools do it differently. The truth is, it's working.
It is.
It's working, but lack of awareness is also causing people to start fighting over it.
Okay. Wow. I really, really hope. There are so many people that I am hoping are watching this show. I'm hoping that the head teachers, the administrators, the powers that be, the kids, the parents at home are actually taking note of the discussion that we are having today. Because remember, like I said, this is a symbiotic kind of ecosystem where we need our teachers to actually be able to perform at par so that they can be able to bring forth the next generation of leaders who are our children. So we're going to take a small break and then we'll be back for the question and answer session. Don't go far away. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, our topic of discussion is focus on the mental wellness of teachers. And if we discovered before the break, there were so many things and so many factors that have led up to the rise in the numbers of suicide cases amongst our teachers, which is honestly very sad and has prompted this discussion. And we're hoping that wherever you may be, that you are understanding and you're getting insight on as to why this is happening and how we can be able to possibly intervene. So now we are at my favorite part of the show, which is the question and answer session from my wonderful audience. First of all, we are very, very privileged to have an audience that is filled with teachers, principals, and people who are actually from the teaching fraternity, showing that this is coming from the core. This discussion is hitting right at the core of the matters. So I'd want to welcome first and foremost Madam Leah Gitau, who happens to be the principal of Irure Mixed School in Madhyoya in Murang'a. Remember, Dadas show is completely exclusive, so we are really, really proud that she made her way all the way from Murang'a to actually sit down with us as we discuss this very contentious issue. So karibu sana Principal Leah Gitau.
Thank you, Ashiko, for having me on this show. I'm very grateful for that. First, I'll make my contribution that teachers are always forgotten. And these teachers are part of the society. We are parents, we are fathers, uncles, nephews, nieces, and we belong to the society. So many of the times you find that the stakeholders concentrate so much on the student and forget that a teacher is also a person who needs mental health wellness. So they carry a lot of responsibilities on their shoulders and then the stakeholders always forget them with the assumption that they are knowledgeable, they know everything. So I'll call upon all the stakeholders to join hands with all the others who are mindful of well-being of a person like a teacher, so that we can also help this teacher to come out of this stressful life. Also, the generation that is coming. Remember, we as the parents, we are bringing up, we are the parents for Gen Zs. So we are not bringing them up the way we were brought up strictly. So we find that we bend here and there. That is why you find that this teacher, when he has money, he's going to the lifestyle. Her lifestyle or his lifestyle will not be like ours. So as much as we are trying to, it is a good discussion that has come up that is going to capture each and every generation so that we know the way forward.
Yes.
So as parents, as neighbors, let us help this teacher who looks as if he's stressed up. And we have those indicators to show that the teacher is stressed up.
Yeah.
The way the teacher will behave in school, me as one of the administrators there, I'll know. And I'll refer this teacher to a counselor. In the school, we have the counseling department. If it fails, or the teacher might be big-headed, doesn't want to hear from the fellow teachers.
Of course.
So we refer to the next level. And then now we hand it over to the TSC, where we have a TSC wellness. In the church should also come up properly, because most of the schools are sponsored by the church. So the church, I'll also urge the church to come up and give their counseling and guidance to the teachers, not only students. For the students, it's very efficient. But when it comes to the teacher, there is that assumption that the teacher knows. The teacher
has it all
do.
figured out. Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause to Principal Gitau. Thank you so much, ma'am, for that contribution, especially coming from someone who's at the helm of the administration. And it's good that you are noticing and you're taking it upon yourself to notice that, you know, there's something that is amiss within maybe the administration and what can be done to intervene. So asante sana, Principal, and we definitely look forward to interacting with you in the near future. We'll move on to our question and answer session, comments and feedback. Let's start off with Madam Catherine. Catherine, karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Ashiko. This is very timely as we begin the year. Indeed, teachers are going through a lot. We face stress and many expectations, like my colleagues have talked about. There is this phrase, which is very common amongst the teaching fraternity, that it has come to a point because really the competition or the stress, the expectation are too much, or is too much, sorry for that. We hear that the teacher is being told, teach and go home. But then, now it trickles down, because apart from being a teacher, we are also parents. So you put yourself in those shoes, because our children are also in other schools. Will I be comfortable if the teacher is just teaching my child and then go home?
Yeah.
So there is that thin line of balance that cuts across between teaching and going home or being a responsible teacher. So I would really wish that something be done, like somebody was raising a concern, that teachers, we should be even having in-service sessions where teachers are sensitized. And also parents, they really come hard on us. They really have I'm sorry to say, but majority of them are becoming so insensitive. And unfortunately, we have entitled children. They know their rights. So it is really becoming a challenge. So my question is, how do we create a balance between being a teacher and also providing the services of being a parent? Because majority of us, we teach in boarding schools. Thank you so much.
Madam Judith, would you pick that up? Because you have been in the teaching fraternity for 30 years. You actually got your children while you were still a teacher. How do you balance? Because your children are being taught in other schools. How do you balance it out? Between now I'm a teacher, but mtoto wangu pia yuko pahali pengine anafundishwa.
I read this book known as The One Thing. And it says, we really don't balance. We can only counterbalance. That means that when I am teaching, I'm teaching, and there's the parenting to be done. So I put that aside for that time. In other words, he's saying that when you're balancing, your mind tells you, I need to be a parent right now, I need to be a teacher right now, and that is causing mental pressure.
Of course.
It says now, work out your ways or your timetable in such a way that, number one, you're conscious of self-care. Being aware that you're a human being who can only go so far is the first thing. Awareness of how much you can take. And each of us has a breaking point that is different from the other. Something in you tells you this is just too much, you're going. So you must be very careful to listen to your body. Number two, there is this child who will come to me and tell me, this and this is happening, I was going home, but I'm going to commit suicide today. If I say clearly, no, it's 5 o'clock, go home, I will kill that student. So I need to judge, is this case one that can wait until tomorrow? Because you can judge as a teacher. Even the student, from how you ask a few questions, will, meaning we need to do some little counseling to help the teacher.
Yes.
So it is possible for somebody to make, not totally, it can't be total, because we are in the situation. Some cases will catch you when you're teaching English, as I teach English. It becomes a parental need, not English. So I have to judge, do I now niache hao wengine, the class continues as I attend to this, or can this wait, I'll attend to it after. So I may not really give one specific answer, but the teacher must be conscious of teacher self-care. One of the things that may help over and beyond that is that teacher, when they're not in school, must be involved in things like doing exercises. They must do some recreation so that they have capacity. The more you build yourself, you have capacity to handle so much.
Yes.
And then, of course, everybody in the society being sensitive that things are changing, and the teacher who used to leave at 5 is no longer that teacher, but then the teacher should also have times when they're leaving at 5. And I would finally like to say the spiritual angle is very key to all these things. In my time I've taught for 31 years, I have found that when we have done enough, enough is enough. Just going back home and having a time of spiritual reflection builds capacity, so that at sometimes I'm a parent, sometimes I'm a teacher, but not really balancing, but counter-balancing. Does that make sense?
It does, so much. And I hope it makes sense to you as well, Catherine. You know, not to balance, but counterbalance. Because I love what you said. Things are morphing. Everything is changing. There used to be a time at 5 o'clock, mwalimu anaenda nyumbani. There used to be a time that you would actually just be a teacher. You're teaching mathematics and that's it. But with the new needs of this generation, you find yourself you're either a spiritual leader, you're a counselor, you're a parent. So it's very easy for somebody to get to get caught up in the middle of all of that and lose themselves. Because you can imagine if you're having a very needy child, a class, let's say we're talking about a high school, a girls' high school, and she's got this ABCD problem, and you find yourself focusing so much on her, and you do not know the difference between sympathy and empathy, and you end up carrying her with you. I mean, that can definitely contribute to somebody's mental, well-being being a little bit shaken. Yeah? Oh, thank you so much, Catherine. That was a very profound question, and we really appreciate that. Let's move on to the next question, which is from Wangeshi. Wangeshi, karibu sana.
My name is Wangeshi Moshiri, a teacher, high school teacher, and a teens coach and counselor. Now, mine is an observation, though it's going to come out as a question eventually. I've observed in my sessions that there is a stressor coming to teachers because of the generational gap, where you find that a teacher is from a generation and they're handling a different generation. Now, for some of us who've done counseling, we are privileged and we're able to handle that. What happens to my colleague who has no interest in counseling or probably who has no background? How do you handle the gap between the two generations, where you're dealing with a very, very different generation, very self-aware, children who are very confident, and confidence, is interpreted as this generation, there's a generation, exactly.
Yes.
So how do you handle that gap? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wangeshi. That's an excellent question. We were told us millennials were to be seen and not heard. but Gen Z is to be seen and heard. And even for people who have teenagers in the house, sometimes you find it, even though you have a background in psychology, sometimes you find like someone is constantly threatening your authority. And yet what they're doing is they're just vocalizing their emotions. So I'm trying to imagine if I'm going through that kind of hassle in my own house with my own child, how would a teacher be able to deal with a very, very vocal, Emily, and this is to you because this is your field of expertise. How am I dealing with a very vocal 18-year-old, 19-year-old boy who is challenging everything that I stand for?
The first thing a teacher should do is be empathetic. Picture yourself at the age when you are a teenager. Empathize that this is someone who is going through so much. The fact remains, the teacher is the older person here. The teacher must have experienced what this child is going through, although in a different generation. So I would say first, empathize. The second one, let us have open communication. Honestly, gone are the days when we used to say a teenager is being disruptive. These days they don't disrupt. Actually, they tell us what we need to hear in their own understanding, in their own language. And being self-aware, we should actually see it as a plus. It is a plus because we are dealing with someone who already has an idea of who they are. Actually, for us is to either affirm, yes, this is good, but we can do it this way. Let us strike a balance. This is what I encourage. We should praise in public, criticize in private, and lead through listening. Wangesha, I hope I've answered your question.
Wow. Our next question of the day is from Lucy. Lucy, karibu sana.
Thank you, Shiko, for this session. Now, I want to say something about teacher mental health. It exhibits a lot in the teacher's burnout. So the teacher is left alone. The teacher does not know where to turn to and what to do. I would encourage teachers amongst ourselves, let us just be warm towards each other. Because this is where I spend many hours in the day. There's one very important word, good morning, Mrs. So-and-so. Good morning, Mr. So-and-so. Tusalimiane ni tu walimu. Yes. So teachers should just be there for one another, other than expecting somebody else to come out and take care of them. Besides that, we are told that teachers should visit the guidance and counseling department in the schools. They exist, yes. But remember, members of the guidance and counseling are fellow teachers. Personally, I find it a little bit, okay, it's encouraging to encourage somebody. It's good to encourage somebody to visit the GNC department. But this is a fellow teacher. I am a head of department. This is my junior in my department. How do I handle this?
How can this be intervened?
That's a very nice one. And the way she has looked at it, that we are saying, talk amongst yourself. Of course, first and foremost, there should be that goodwill amongst the teachers, because some emergencies ought to be spoken there and then. And so we need to also know who I'm talking to as a fellow teacher. I just don't go telling everybody. But there are those heavy ones that need to be talked to a counselor. I think it's the Teacher Service Commission or the Ministry of Education. They have a very nice center. In fact, the policy on teacher counseling is top notch.
Oh, wow.
I've had a chance of reading it when I was asking teachers the same question. But the response came in that we have no idea what it is. So the first thing is, I believe the concern, whether it's TSC or the Ministry of Education, please make teachers aware of what you have in store for them. There is the facility at Kenyatta National Hospital, both for teachers and for youth, free of charge. Very good doctors. But who knows about it? And when we are told about it, the first thing that comes is stigma. So I would really request our colleagues at the different ministry levels that please bring it up so that teachers are aware. Because when I asked, and the response was, we are there. Yes, you are there. But we don't know, so that we can help each other. The other thing, I was doing a course on transformational leadership, and they tell us when you're getting your buddies, they're called bumper buddies, deliberately and intentionally look for somebody outside the institution who you can talk to and tell what is within. Because if you come and share with me everything, we are in the same institution. What will I do? If I don't like what is happening, I'll add fire. You know. So by the end of the day, we are two frustrated people in the same institution.
Oh, dear.
But if I had another person, maybe my age outside, who has nothing to do with it, who is empathetic, they'd probably just help. Problem shared is half solved.
Yeah.
But when I'm looking for real counseling, we are urging people outside there. We were told, even parents may be a bit tricky because I'm teaching your child, but we need to really think carefully about this thing. And as teachers, also see how can we help ourselves over and beyond what is being done. Okay. It comes to policy, it comes to the government. Let's look at it keenly. I think there's still more space that can be done to help the teacher.
Oh. Karibu sana Sue. What is your take on today's conversation?
Thank you, Ashiko. As a person who deals with parenting teenagers, I interact a lot with parents, teachers, and the teenagers themselves. And I can't help but notice that there's a disconnect. Parents don't know or don't understand what exactly teachers are supposed to do. So they expect the teachers to teach their children, know when they have personal problems, discipline them. And as our Catherine had said earlier, that's where it comes in, teach and go home, because teachers feel we've done our part. But I also see a lot of trauma. I tell a parent, your daughter is in Form 3. Have you spoken or seen his or her teacher? 3 years, she has never met even a single teacher in that school. Why? They're scared. And I say, ninaogopa. Imagine a whole parent. Because I think also there's trauma from childhood. So we feared our teachers when we were in primary and high school, and now we fear our children's teachers. So there needs to be some kind of, parents need to understand what they can do or what is expected of them in connection with how the children are learning in school. I think some expect a little too much, I'm sorry to say. And so that's where these imbalances come in.
Thank you so much, Sue. And I think you're right. It always feels like it's a vicious cycle, you know, from teacher to child, then the child gets children, and then it's a whole cycle going on and on. So I think if we work together, we can definitely be able to find a solution. Asante sana, Sue, for that. I'm going to give my wonderful panelists an opportunity to give us a parting shot. If there's a teacher, caregiver who is watching us today, and they are feeling very disillusioned and demoralized, especially in regards to their careers and where their careers are heading, kindly just give them a word, very briefly, a word of encouragement. Karibu sana, Judith.
Thank you so much. I'd like to tell the teacher who is watching, first and foremost, do self-care. And then number 2, remember what you hold in your hands can destroy or make a life, irrespective of what we are going through. But do self-care, it will help you balance.
Thank you so much. You have the power to destroy and to build. Carol?
Thank you. I would want to tell my colleagues that living within your means removes a lot of the stress and dealing with what you can. And always speak out, seek help, and someone will be there to help you. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So reach out, seek help. There'll be someone there to offer a helping hand. And finally, Emily.
Thank you. I would say, let's be self-aware. Self-awareness, self-awareness, self-awareness. What is it that may be causing you to behave in a particular way? Go to the core of yourself, because it starts with you.
Yes.
Just be in touch with yourself before you handle someone else.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Self-awareness, self-awareness. Be in touch with yourself so you can find the core of all the feelings that you're feeling. So, of course, we have come to the end of an extremely insightful episode that is coming at the beginning of the school year. And I'm hoping you at home have been able to learn a thing or 2 or 10 or 15, and you can be able to apply the knowledge that you've been able to get today, not only in your life, but also in the life of your neighbor, in the life of your teacher, in the life of your fellow parent, fellow colleague, and all of that. Remember to keep us and keep this conversation going on all our social media platforms at Dadas KBC Channel 1. You can also reach us on Facebook at Dadas Show KBC, or reach me personally at Ashiko the host across all social media platforms. So on behalf of our location partner, Gem Suits here in Riverside, Nairobi, our production team at KBC, myself, Ashiko Mbune, I wish you all a compassionate, loving, and wonderful wonderful, wonderful and very productive school year. We will catch you same time, same place next week. But for now, have a lovely one and we will see each other then. Bye for now.